Hi, I'm Darryn Farrugia and welcome. In last week's video, I spoke about anti-inflammatory exercises, and these exercises are designed to remedy the problem that I call the weak relationship, and that weak relationship is the weak relationship that occurs between the left hand and the right foot if you're a right-handed, right-footed drummer. If you haven't seen that video, I'm going to leave a link to that in the description underneath this video. So those exercises from last week involved playing a paradiddle where you'd play the right hand on the hi-hat, left hand on the snare drum, and then the bass drum would actually double the left hand part. So we're forcing the left hand and right foot to play in unison, because that's where the weakness occurs. We have problems as right-handed, right-footed drummers playing accurate unisons between the left hand and right foot. So anyway, this week what I want to talk about is just a simple exercise to work on this weak relationship if you play a lot of jazz. And it's an exercise that kind of combines two exercises that you may have learnt already if you're a jazz drummer. So let me explain. Often when we develop jazz independence as jazz drummers, we would use syncopation exercise 1 from Ted Reed's syncopation book. And what that exercise would usually involve is playing the ride cymbal pattern with the hi-hat on 2 and 4, perhaps feathering the bass drum on all the quarter notes, but more importantly, reading the syncopation exercise on the snare drum with the left hand. This kind of thing. And then beyond that, you may have also practiced it playing the syncopation exercise on the bass drum. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine both of those exercises and play the snare drum and the bass drum in unison. Now the point of this is that it's very likely to expose that inaccuracy that occurs when playing unisons between the left hand and right foot, or in this case, the bass drum and the snare drum. So we want to iron that out. So it's really simple. What we're going to do is play the syncopation exercise, reading that on the snare drum and the bass drum in unison while playing the ride cymbal pattern and the hi-hat on 2 and 4. Now just let me explain to you that the important thing here is not to play this too fast, because it's very easy to gloss over these inaccuracies by playing things at sort of medium to up-ish tempos. What we're going to do is actually play it a little slower. So perhaps 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So generally I find playing at those slow tempos harder to do because there's so much space between the notes, and so therefore we kind of really have to try hard to control our limbs to play those notes exactly where they need to be played, which is the whole concept of playing accurately. Now I should also mention I'm playing the first 8 bars of syncopation exercise number 1 for these examples. What I'm going to do now is take that tempo up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. A couple of things to consider here. When I played the slower tempo, so the tempo before I played just now, I actually played heel down. At that tempo that I just played now, I played heel up. So, whatever feels comfortable for you to play accurately. If you're not playing excessively fast or loud you can play heel down. If you've got a good enough technique to do that, regardless of the technique you choose, obviously the important thing is to make sure that it's accurate in unison with the left hand. The second thing to consider here is at this point, I'm playing the snare drum, everything at the same volume. So I want to add some dynamics to the snare drum. So a really neat way to do this is again by taking the exercise 1 from the syncopation book, which I'm really trying hard as hell not to call it page 37 or page 38. We're going to take that exercise and all the written quarter notes will be played as accents. And I think this might be an Alan Dawson concept. So please feel free to correct me if that's wrong, but I think this might be an Alan Dawson concept. So we're going to take each written quarter note and play that as an accent, just so that we can add some dynamics to the snare drum. And therefore, when we play dynamically on the snare drum, it can actually affect that relationship between, the left hand and the right foot. With this concept in mind, remember that 2 eighth notes tied together will be treated as a quarter note. And for those of you who are familiar with this particular exercise, you will know that in the second bar of the second line, there are 2 eighth notes tied together in the middle of the bar. So I'll treat those 2 eighth notes tied together as a quarter note. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you go, there's an anti-inflammatory exercise for you if you're a jazz drummer. And you may not necessarily play this way, you may not necessarily play unisons with the left hand and right foot or the snare drum and bass drum together, but there is a bit of a trend going towards this. I mean, I heard this years ago for the first time played by Bill Stewart. I've also heard Antonio Sanchez take this approach to comping, snare drum and bass drum unison, and a lot of younger cats are doing that too. So it's definitely worth practicing this type of exercise so that you can incorporate this concept into your comping style. It's a real good one. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, give it the thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe and remember to hit that notification bell so that you know when I've uploaded a video, which is every week. So until next week, have a great week, and I will see you all soon. Bye.